Welcome to Principles of Marketing. We will be looking at Chapter 9, Pricing Concepts. In Chapter 9, the learning outcomes include discussing the importance of pricing decisions to the economy and the individual firm, listening and explaining a variety of pricing objectives, explaining the role of demand in price determination, understanding the concepts of dynamic pricing and yield management systems, describing the cost-oriented pricing strategies, demonstrate how the product lifestyle, competition, distribution, and promotion strategies, customer demands, the internet and the extranet, and the perception of quality can affect pricing, describing the procedure for setting the right price, identifying the legal constraints on pricing decisions, and explaining how discounts, geographic pricing, and other pricing tactics can be used to fine-tune a base price. Make sure you read the chapter and review all module content. Let's get started. After marketing managers establish pricing goals, they must set specific prices to reach these goals. The price they set for each product depends mostly on two factors: the demand for goods or services and the cost to the seller for that good or service. Demand is the quantity of the product that will be sold in the market at various prices for a specified period. The higher the price, the fewer goods or services consumers will demand. Supply is the quantity of product that will be offered to the market by the supplier or suppliers at various prices for a specified period of time. Elasticity of the demand refers to the consumer's responsiveness or sensitivity to changes in price. Elastic demand is the situation in which consumer demand is sensitive to price change. Inelastic demand means that an increase or decrease in price will not significantly affect demand for the product. Several factors affect elasticity of demand, including availability of substitutes, price relative to purchasing power, product durability, and products' other uses. Sometimes companies minimize or ignore the importance of demand and decide to price their products largely solely on the basis of cost. Cost should generally be part of any price determination, if only as a floor below which goods or services must not be priced in the long run. A variable cost is a cost that varies with changes in the level of output. An example includes cost of material. Fixed cost does not change as output is increased or decreased. This includes rent and salaries. Markup pricing is the most popular method used by wholesalers and retailers to establish a selling price. Markup pricing uses the cost of buying the product from the producer plus amounts for profit and for expenses not otherwise accounted for. The total determines the selling price. The formula for calculating retail price given a certain desired markup is as follows. The retail price will equal the cost divided by 1 minus the desired return on sales. To use markup based on cost or selling price effectively, the marketing manager must calculate an adequate gross margin, the amount added to cost to determine the price. The margin must ultimately provide adequate funds to cover selling expenses and profit. Once an appropriate margin has been determined, the markup technique has the major advantage of being easy to employ. Markups are often based on experience. For example, many markup retailers mark up merchandise 100% over cost. This tactic is known as keystoning. Some other factors that can play a role in markups include merchandise appeal to consumers, past response to the markup, items promotional value, seasonality of the goods, fashion appeal of the product, product's traditional selling price, and competition. Break-even analysis determines what sales volume must be reached before the company breaks even and no profits are earned. The typical break-even model assumes given fixed costs and constant average variables. The advantage of the break-even analysis is that it provides a quick estimate of how much the firm must sell to break even and how much profit can be earned if a higher sales volume is obtained. Break-even analysis is not without several important limitations. Sometimes it's hard to know whether a cost is considered a fixed or a variable. Other factors besides demand and cost can influence price. This includes stages in the product's life cycle, competition, price matching, and customer loyalty, distribution strategy, the impact of the internet and extranet, promotional strategy, demands of large customers, and relationships of price quality. As a product moves through the life cycle, the demand for the product and the competitive condition tends to change. During the introductory stage, management usually sets prices higher. This is to recover development cost quickly. Demand originates in the core of the market, customers whose needs ideally match the product's attributes, and thus is relatively inelastic. If the target market is highly price sensitive, management often finds it better to price the product at a market level or lower. During the growth stage, as the product's prices generally begin to stabilize for several reasons. First, the competitors have entered the marketplace. Second, the product has begun to appeal to a broader market. And finally, the economies of scale are lowering costs, and the savings can be passed on to the consumer in the form of lower prices. The maturity stage usually brings further price decrease as competition increases and inefficient high-cost firms are eliminated. At this stage, price increases are usually cost-initiated, not demand-initiated. Because demand is limited and producers have similar cost structures, the remaining competitors will probably match price reductions. And finally, in the decline stage, there will be further price decreases as few remaining competitors try to salvage the last vestige of demand. Adequate distribution for new products can often be attained by offering a larger than usual profit margin to distributors. A variation on this strategy is give dealers a large trade allowance to help offset the cost of promotion and further stimulate the demand at the retail level. The internet and extranets and wireless setups are linking people, machines, and companies around the globe and connecting sellers and buyers like never before. At the same time, the technology allows sellers to collect detailed data about consumers' buying habits, preferences, and even spending limits so that sellers can tailor their products and prices. A shopping bot is a program that searches the web for the best price for the particular item that you wish to purchase. Shopping bots theoretically give pricing power to the consumer. The more information the shopper has, the more efficient his or her purchase decision will be. There are two general types of shopping bots. The first is broad-based type searches, a wide range of product categories such as Google Shopping, NextTag, and Price Grabber. These sites operate using Yellow Pages type of model in that they list every retailer they can find. The second is niche-oriented type that searches for prices for only one type of product, such as consumer electronics, even tickets or travel-related expenses. Even though consumers are spending billions on the internet auction, business-to-business auctions are likely to be the dominant form in the future. In reverse auction, the buyer, rather than seller, specifies the item of service that he or she is looking for. Sellers then compete to offer the lowest price to win the bid. Reliance on price as an indicator of quality seems to occur for all products, but it reveals itself more strongly for some items than others. Among the products that benefit from this phenomena are coffee, aspirin, shampoo, clothing, furniture, whiskey, education, and many services. People typically assume that prices are higher because the products contain better material, because they are made more carefully, or in the case of professional services, because the provider has more experience. Researchers have found that the price promotion of higher priced, higher quality brands tend to attract more business than do similar promotions of lower priced and low quality brands. Setting the right price on a product is a four-step process. Establish the pricing goals, estimate demand, cost, and profit, choose a price strategy to help determine a base, and fine-tune the base price with pricing tactics. The first step in setting the right price is to establish pricing goals. Recall that the pricing objectives fall into three categories: profit-oriented, sales-oriented, and status quo. These goals are derived from the firm's overall objectives. All pricing objectives have trade-offs that managers must weigh. Recall that total revenue is a function of the price quantity demanded, and the quantity demanded depends on elasticity. Elasticity is a function that perceived value to the buyer relative to the price. Some questions for market research determine research on demand and elasticity are: what price is so low that consumers would question the product's quality? What is the highest price at which the product will still be perceived as a bargain? What is the price at which the product is starting to be perceived as expensive? What is the price at which the product becomes too expensive for the target market? After establishing price goals, managers should estimate total revenue at a variety of prices. Next, they should determine corresponding cost for each price. They are then ready to estimate how much profit, if any, and how much market share can be earned at each possible price. The marketing manager's chosen price strategy defines the initial price and gives direction for the price movement over the product's life cycle. The price strategy sets a competitive price in specific market segment based on well-defined positioning strategies. Changing a price level from premium to super premium may require a change in the product itself, the target customer served, the promotional strategy, or the distribution channels. A company's freedom in pricing a new product and devising a price strategy depends on the market condition and other elements of the marketing mix. If a firm launches a new item resembling several other already on the market, its pricing freedom will be restricted. To succeed, the company will probably have to charge a price close to the average market price. In contrast, a firm that introduces a totally new product with no close substitutes will have a considerable pricing freedom. Companies that do serious planning when creating a pricing strategy usually select from the three basic approaches: price skimming, penetration pricing, and status quo pricing. Price skimming is sometimes called market plus approach to pricing because it denotes a high price relative to the prices of competing products. Companies often use this strategy for new products when the product is perceived by the target market as having a unique advantage. Often companies will use skimming and then lower prices over time. This is called sliding down the demand curve. Price skimming works best when there is a strong demand for a good or service. Firms can also effectively use price skimming when the product is well protected legally, when it represents a technological breakthrough, or when it has some other way block the entry of competitors. Managers may follow a skimming strategy when production cannot be expanded rapidly because of technological difficulties, shortages, or constraints imposed by the skill and time required to produce a product. A successful skimming strategy enables management to recover its product development cost quickly. A skimming strategy will encourage competitors to enter the market. Penetration pricing is the opposite end of the spectrum from skimming. Penetration pricing means charging a relatively low price for a product when it's first rolled out as a way to reach the mass market. The low price is designed to capture a large share of the substantial market, resulting in a lower production cost. Penetration pricing does mean lower profit per unit. Therefore, to reach the break-even point, it requires a higher volume of sales than would a skimming policy. Penetration pricing tends to discourage competition. A penetration strategy tends to be effective in a price-sensitive market. Price should decline more rapidly when the demand is elastic because the market can expand through lower price. If a firm has a low fixed cost structure and each sales provides a large contribution to these fixed costs, penetration pricing can boost sales and provide a large increase in profits, but only if the market size grows or competitors choose not to respond. Low prices can attract additional buyers to the market. The increased sales can justify production expansion or the adoption of new technologies, both of which can reduce cost. Penetration pricing can also be effective. An experience curve will cause cost per unit to drop significantly. The experience curve proposes that per unit cost will go down as a firm production experience increases. Manufacturers that fail to take advantage of this effect will find themselves at a competitive cost disadvantage relative to others that are further along the curve. The big advantage of penetration pricing is that it typically discourages or blocks competition from entering the market. The disadvantage is that penetration means gearing up for the mass production to sell large volumes at a lower price. If the volume fails to materialize, the company will face huge losses from building or converting a factory to produce the failed products. Status quo pricing is the third basic price strategy. This pricing strategy means charging a price identical to or very close to the competitor's price. The advantage is that it's very simple. Disadvantage of this strategy may ignore the demand or cost or both. Some pricing decisions are subjected to government regulations. Among the issues that falls in this category are unfair trade practices, price fixing, price discrimination, and predatory pricing. Unfair Trade Practice Acts put a floor under wholesale and retail prices. Selling below cost in these states is illegal. Wholesalers and retailers must usually take a certain minimum percentage markup on the combined merchandise costs and transportation costs. The intent of Unfair Trade Practice Acts is to protect small local firms from giants such as Walmart, which operate very efficiently on a razor-thin profit margin. State enforcement of unfair trade practice laws has generally been lax, partly because of low prices benefiting local consumers. Price fixing is an agreement between two or more firms on the price they will charge for a product. Such practices are illegal under the Sherman Act and the Federal Trade Commission Act. Offenders have received fines and sometimes prison terms. Predatory pricing is the practice of charging a very low price for a product with the intent of driving competitors out of business or out of the market. Once competitors have been driven out, the firm raises its price. This practice is illegal under the Sherman Act and the Federal Trade Commission Act. To prove predatory pricing, the Justice Department must show that the predator, the destructive company, explicitly tried to ruin a competitor and that the predatory pricing was below the predator's average variable cost. The Robinson-Patman Act of 1936 prohibits any firm selling to two or more different buyers within a reasonably short time commodities of like grade and quality of different prices, where the results would be substantially lessened competition. The act also makes it illegal for sellers to offer to buyers different supplementary services and for buyers to use their purchasing power to force sellers into granting discriminatory prices or services. The Robinson-Patman Act provides three defenses for seller charged with price discrimination. First is cost. A firm can charge different prices to different customers if the price represents manufacturing or quantity discount savings. Market conditions. Price variations are justified if designed to meet fluid product and market conditions. And competition. A reduction in price may be necessary to stay even with competition, specifically if a competitor undercuts the price quoted by a seller to a buyer. The law authorizes the seller to lower the price charged to the buyer for the product in question. A base price, the general price level at which the company expects to sell the good or service. The general price level is correlated with pricing policy, either above the market, which is price skimming, at the market, the status quo pricing, or below the market, penetration pricing. The final step then is to fine-tune the base price. Fine-tuning techniques are approaches that do not change the general price level. They do, however, result in changes within the general price level. Fine-tuning pricing tactics include various sorts of discounts, geographic pricing, and other pricing strategies. Managers use the various forms of discounts to encourage customers to do what they would not ordinarily do, such as paying cash rather than using credit, taking delivery out of season, or performing certain functions within a distribution channel. The following are the most common tactics. Quantity discount. When buyers get a lower price for buying multiple units or above a specified dollar amount, they receive a quantity discount. A cumulative quantity discount is deduction from the list price that applies to the buyer's total purchase made during a specific period. It's intended to encourage customer loyalty. A non-cumulative quantity discount is a deduction from the list price that applies to a single order rather than the total volume of orders placed during a certain period of time. A cash discount is a price reduction offered to consumers, an industrial user, or a marketing intermediary in return for prompt payment of a bill. When a functional discount, when a distribution channel intermediary, such as a wholesaler or retailer, performs a service or function for the manufacturers, they will be compensated. This compensation is typically a percentage discount from the base price, and that is the functional or trade discount. A seasonal discount is a price reduction for buying merchandise out of season. A gamble price discount, the consumer receives a discount based upon the outcome of the possibility gamble, and which therefore is uncertain. This is similar to roll the dice discount, which involves paying for an item and then rolling dice to determine the discount. A promotional allowance or trade allowance is a payment to a dealer for promoting a manufacturer's product. It is both a pricing tool and a promotional device. A rebate is a cash refund given for the purchase of a product during a specific period. The advantage of a rebate over a simple price reduction for stimulating demand is that the rebate is a temporary inducement that can be taken away without altering the basic price structure. A coupon is a discount offered via paper, a card, or a printable web page, or an electronic code. 0% financing. Usually manufacturers offer 0% financing, which enables purchasers to borrow money to pay for new cars with no interest charge. This tactic creates a huge increase in sales, but is not without its own costs. Free shipping is another method of lowering the price for purchasers. Since shipping expense to the seller, it must be built into the actual cost. Value-based pricing is also called value pricing. Is pricing strategy that's grown out of the quality movement. Value-based pricing starts with the customer, considers the competition and associated costs, and then determines the appropriate price. The basic assumption is that the firm is customer driven, seeking to understand the attributes of customers want in goods and services they buy and the value of that bundle of attributes to the customer. Value-based pricing, the price of the product is set at a level that seems to the customer a good price compared with the other prices and other options. Research has found that loyal customers become even more loyal when they receive discounts. Because many sellers ship their wares to nationwide or even worldwide markets, the cost of freight can greatly affect the total cost of product. Sellers may use several different geographic pricing tactics to moderate the impact of freight costs on distant customers. The following methods of geographic pricing are the most common. FOB origin pricing, also called FOB factory, FOB shipping point, is a price tactic that requires the buyer to absorb the freight costs and the shipping point. FOB stands for free on board. With uniform delivery pricing, the seller pays the actual freight charge and bills every purchaser an identical flat freight charge. Zone pricing is the modification of uniform delivery pricing. Rather than using uniform freight rates for the entire U.S., the firm divides its segments or zones and charges a flat freight rate to all customers in the given zone. In freight absorption pricing, the seller pays all or part of the actual freight charges and does not pass them on to the buyer. With basing point pricing, the seller designates a location as a basing point and charges all buyers the freight charge from the point regardless of the city from which the goods are shipped. Single price tactic. A merchant using this tactic often offers goods and services at the same price or perhaps 2 or 3 prices. Flexible pricing or variable pricing means that different customers pay different prices for essentially the same merchandise bought in equal quantities. Professional services pricing is used by people with lengthy experience, training, and often certifications by a licensing board. Price lining is the practice of offering a product line with several items at a specific price point. Leader pricing or loss leader pricing is an attempt by the marketing manager to attract customers by selling a product near even below cost in hopes that the shoppers will buy another item once they are in the store. Bait pricing tries to get customers into the store through false or misleading price advertising and then uses a high pressure selling to persuade them to buy more expensive merchandise. Odd even pricing or psychological pricing means pricing at odd numbered prices to convey a bargain, or pricing at even numbers to imply quality. Price bundling is marketing 2 or more products as a single package for a special price. Two-part pricing means establishing two separate charges to consume a single good or service. Paying what you want or what you think sometimes is worth is a very risky task. One of the authors patronized a restaurant close to campus that asked diners to pay what they think their meal was worth. Most people felt socially pressured into paying around $8. They don't want to appear to be cheap. Manufacturers can keep the price and packaging size the same while reducing the amount of content, thereby increasing the price per ounce or pound. Consumer penalties are extra fees paid by the consumer for violating the terms of purchase agreement. Businesses impose consumer penalties for two reasons. They suffer an irrevocable revenue loss, or they incur significant additional transactional costs should consumers be unable or unwilling to complete their purchase obligation. With profit margins in many companies increasingly coming under pressure, organizations are looking to stem losses resulting from customers not meeting their obligations. However, a perceived unfairness of a penalty may affect some customers' willingness to patronize that business in the future. And I thank you so much for listening to this lecture. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to reach out to me. Thank you.